And welcome everybody to Between the Stripes. This is your daily diet of Indiana sports. Well, Indiana fans, you know that the state bird of Indiana is the cardinal bird. Well, we have two different types of birds in Indiana. We have those birds up north, those cardinals that are beautiful and they like to fly around in the trees in the winter. They got the little black beaks. Absolutely a beautiful sight to see. But down here in southern Indiana, we experience a different type of cardinal bird. They're kind of grungy looking. They got sharp teeth. They got a nasty disposition. They live on the other side of the bridge, and every now and then they like to fly in and infiltrate and contaminate our fan base. We're talking no other than those Louisville Cardinals. So you know what that means, Hoosier fans. Let's lock in. We're behind enemy lines tonight.
Enemy spotted at 4 o'clock. Enemy spotted at 4 o'clock. We're behind enemy lines. Behind enemy lines.
That's right, folks. We are behind enemy lines tonight. So, Hoosiers, let's get ready to meet the new enemy. First of all, we're going to welcome our first guest. He is a Bassmaster wannabe who's often outfished by his own son. He has also had season tickets for so long that he remembers him getting 4 for $1 back in the Kenny Payne coaching era, as well as he used to be a military guy that used to salute colonels, but now he salutes Cardinal Nation. Scott, welcome to the program, brother.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to see you. L's up. He's throwing the L's up. He's bringing it in hard already. Our second guest, I've known him for, my gosh, almost 4 decades now. His Cardinal blood bleeds back so far that he has to do an annual DNA test just to prove he's not related to Denny Crum. He is a human almanac, sports almanac. He remembers a wiffle ball game that happened in 1983 and the stats from it. But he's getting older now. He's a grandpa now. He probably forgot where he put his car keys this morning. Russ, welcome to Win. Well, thanks for coming to the program, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Man, glad to have you guys. Hey, Russ is throwing the L's up, man. We got him everywhere today.
Hey, got to represent with Scott.
We are
right.
we are behind enemy territory, guys. That's for sure. Well, we're going to learn a little bit about our guest tonight. Scott, talk to me a little bit about what got you interested in Louisville sports in general.
Well, when I was young, my mother, she worked at U of L. She worked at University of Louisville, and I remember going to her office as a child. And back in the day, the games always came on local TV. So I would always tune into the local channels, watch Louisville. We didn't have cable, and that's how I became a Louisville fan. That's how I was introduced.
Russ, what about you, Russ? Similar situation, or how did you grow up and be a Louisville fan?
Well, my dad was a Louisville fan. My uncles were Louisville fans. We just kind of watched games together, sat on the couch, went to games together. I had an uncle that was a police officer, and I used to go around in his cop car with him, and we'd pass out them 81, 82 Louisville Cardinal spirit cards to people. I still got the whole set. And so, yeah, my dad and my uncles made me a Louisville fan.
So it's definitely Rusty's blood for sure. We're going to talk a little bit about the rivalry between these two. Of course, we're more of a friendly rival. Where I know you guys hate the big blue over in Lexington.
100%.
I think we all do. I think we can agree on that. If I gave you some stats and see if it would surprise you in the rivalry series between Louisville and Indiana, Indiana is currently a 12-10 leader. Now that was quite a big gap, but in the last 6 years, thanks Woody, thanks Archie, you guys have closed that gap significantly. So it's a 12-10 lead for Indiana. Individual stats, I was looking them up the other day. Calbert Chaney actually leads the most points and scored in the game in the rivalry. He had 32 points. I don't think that surprised either one of you. Do you?
No,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
definitely not.
I wouldn't think so. Rebounding was Mr. Montrez Harrell. That one kind of caught me off guard. I did not expect that one. He led the rebounding in the series. He had 11 rebounds in one game against Indiana. And man, he was a terror. He was absolutely a shot blocking machine and a rebound, and he was impressive. I like Montrez. And on the assist, it was just last year. Again, thanks, Woody. Chucky Hepburn was a leader in assists in the series. So those are the three ones that kind of stick out. So when I grew up watching sports, and I grew up in the 80s, and Louisville and Indiana dominated back then. They were the two teams, and there was nobody else. And so I grew up watching Lancaster Gordon, Milt Wagner. And I tell you what, I was a fan. My dad had said several times, "We're Hoosier fans in this house," because I got kind of caught myself watching a lot of Louisville games. Rusty, talk a little bit about what your experience was growing up watching Indiana. What was Indiana like in your book? What kind of sticks out?
Well, anything with Indiana starts with the general. Everybody had to respect the general. Everybody had to admire his military-like control of a team, how he he ruled with the iron fist. He's a lot different than Denny Crum, but he still has the same respect as Denny Crum. And of course, you had to watch it because you didn't know when he was going to explode. You didn't know when it was going to be that train wreck with him driving it, and you just had to admire him and love him because he's old school, and that's what I miss today. I miss the old school. I miss the what he brought to the game.
I think most people in our generation did. Scott, what about you? What do you kind of remember about Indiana watching them over the last 10, 15, 20 years?
I was born in '82, so I don't remember the glory years of Indiana.
Yeah.
However, in the early '90s, I do remember them, the general, as Rusty said, the general, the military light style program. Just like Denny Crum had success in the early '90s. However, it fell off, mid '90s, late '90s, and just like Rusty said, you never knew what to expect with Bobby Knight, whether it was on the court, whether it was on the sideline, whether it was in the interviews with the media. You never knew. It was must-watch TV.
Yeah, that fuse was there. It's just a matter of when it got lit. You know what I mean? Or who lit it for that matter. Growing up, Scott, let's talk about when you watched Indiana over the last 15 years or so. Did you have any players you liked that you admired? Thought, man, this guy is just unreal good. And hey, what happens on between the lines stays on between the lines. Is there anybody Indiana players that you didn't care for?
I was a big fan of Yogi Ferrell. I loved his play, loved his style. Yeah. Oladipo, loved his play, loved his style. I always admired the little guy who had the heart of a giant. And that's what Yogi had. Sure. And he was honestly, I used to like Indiana more than I did now because of a certain Hoosier fan that we won't speak on, but not you. But Yogi Ferrell, I was a fan of his. And as far as disliking any Indiana players, honestly, the only one was probably from last year. Your boy Connor Enright.
Connor Enright. Okay.
He's probably number one on a lot of people's list. How he just got under your skin. I just didn't care for him.
As an Indiana fan, we love him because, like I said, he was the guy that got under his skin. What about you, Russ? You had any players you liked a lot and players that, you weren't crazy about?
Well, I'll go back a little bit further than Scott. Well, first, Isaiah Thomas is probably my all-time favorite Hoosier. I'm saying he's one of my all-time favorite NBA players. So Isaiah is definitely up there for me. I love listening to the Bobby Knight recruiting stories on Isaiah.
Yeah.
In the night, later on, Jay Edwards became my favorite player. I always watched Jay Edwards, loved him. Players I really disliked, there was not a whole lot I disliked. I've always, Indiana's always been that other team I've liked a lot over the years. I didn't really like somebody that you don't really like that much was Xavier Johnson. Wasn't a fan of him. For some reason, I never really liked Neil Reed much. I don't know if some of the stuff that happened is the reason I don't like him, but I didn't like him, and I always thought Charlie Miller should have been a better player than what he was.
Rusty picking on the dearly departed. Neil Reed is no longer with us.
I
get it, Russ. I get
rest in peace, Neil. But
I get it.
Feel that way,
Russ. I'm totally with you on that one. As far as when I liked Louisville over the years, I was a huge fan of Lancaster Gordon. Now that's a player that I really liked at Louisville. Him and Milt Wagner in that backcourt was something really to behold. They were just dynamic. As far as players that I don't like at Louisville, I don't really have any, and that's the truth. I'm not saying that. I know Hoosier Nation's gonna be like, man, you got to pick somebody. If I had to pick something, I'm gonna say the administration for cherry picking into our state, taking our best players. That's who I hated. I hated the coaching staffs because they came over and they got your the kid from Kyle Couric, and they came over and they got Jerome Harmon. They came over. They got B.J. Flynn and just recently Floyd Badunga. You know what? So yeah, I don't care if the administration come over, poaching our favorite players. So what about you, Scott? Is there any Louisville players that, man, they're your all-time favorite? And tell me a couple of maybe you didn't care for.
I mean, that's a common question that I get asked a lot. Who's my favorite Louisville player? And it's almost impossible to answer. Sure. I would say I had a top 3, 4, 5, no particular order. DeJuan Wheat, love DeJuan Wheat. That was in my early days when I first, had that passion in my blood. Was DeJuan Wheat. Loved his play, loved his style. Loved everything about him. Francisco Garcia, Reese Gaines, of course, Russ Smith, and one that a lot of people don't say that I absolutely love was Gorgie James. You know, watching
Okay.
him come in, you know, not the most athletic, not the most orthodox, and just watching him develop into the player that he was, be a national champion. He's also in my top 5.
Okay. Who's that player that I hope I never see that guy in a Louisville uniform ever again?
The same as probably every other Louisville fans. We know who that is, Andre McGee. But besides him, if we never see him, of course, the one player that I hated was Dangadale. Couldn't stand him. You know what I mean?
Really?
Dangadale. Yes. To me, he was just a gun. He did what he wanted. I don't feel like he had any discipline, and he cost us possibly an NCAA berth with David Padgett as the head coach when he stepped out of bounds.
I forgot all about that until you just
Yeah.
brought that.
Against Virginia.
Russ, what about you?
Well, me and Scott's actually had this conversation several times. We talked
that.
about who our favorite players were. I'm pretty close with Scott. Russ Smith, probably my all-time favorite player. DeJuan Wheat's up there, but my very first favorite player of all time, Indianapolis' own, Poncho Wright.
Poncho
I
Wright.
absolutely loved Poncho when I was a kid growing up. Got a chance to meet him with my uncle back, I think it was at 81 or 82, right before he left. And he was always my first favorite player. So Poncho Wright was my dude. Loved him all the way up until a week came. He was probably my favorite player until then. So
Well, we're in a safe space, Russ. Who's that one player you didn't care for?
well, Scott already said it. The most hated human being ever in Louisville is Andre McGee. So
Wow. I did not know that until now. I did not know that you guys felt that way about him.
Yes.
Well,
How did you not know that?
I know.
I just didn't.
He is by far Louisville's most hated player. So
Absolutely.
excluding him, unfortunately, it'd be Malik Williams. I just never liked him. I always felt like he didn't live up to expectations. You know, he was hyped up to be a one and done, and it just didn't work out for him. Nothing against him, just wasn't a fan.
Well, Scott, let me throw this back on you real quick, just off the cuff. What was it about McGee that nobody liked?
No comment.
Okay. We'll leave it there. Hey, this is a safe space on Between the Stripes.
Right.
But we will leave it there. I'm not poking any feathers here. Russ, for a second here, I want to talk about the coaches. Okay. And I want to talk about job security. And I know the big question I get from people and fans, and when I talk to Hoosier fans, Kentucky fans, the whole nine, Pat Kelsey can't win the big one, according to a lot of these guys. And I know a lot of people feel that way. I think Pat Kelsey is a good coach. Now, does he look great because he came from after Kenny Payne, which made everybody look great? Or I think it's a combination of both. I think he's a good coach, and taking over for Ken Payne, he looks a lot better. But he has that label on his back where he can't win a big one. What's he got to do this year to get that off his back?
We got to at least get to the second weekend of the tournament.
Okay.
I think that's 100% the goal. Overall job security, though, I think that he's pretty safe. Yeah. I think but we are a fickle fan base. We are a fan base that wants it. We're the me generation. We want it now instead of being patient. And that's including myself. Yeah. That's including Scott. We talk about this all the time. But I think he's on the right path. I think that he understands our fan base. I think he gets our community. I think that he understands the importance of the job. So I think that he's got a little bit of a leash, but he definitely needs to get into the second weekend of the tournament.
Okay. I see that. Scott, what about you? What's his expectations for you?
100% agree with Rusty. The Sweet 16 is the bare minimum. You went out and you spent the money on the roster. You got the donors. You have the NIL package. There's no excuses. First 2 years, he was unable to, quote unquote, win the big game. And you have to win some of those games this year. We have a loaded non-conference schedule. You have to win some. He addressed the issue that we've had the last 2 years. We didn't have a big man. He went out. He got the number one player in the transfer portal, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He got him. Got a solid backup. There's no excuses this year, in my opinion. Sweet 16, or I think it's a hot seat. And also for him, as Rusty touched on it, he knows Louisville. He knows the expectations. He knows the pressure he's under. So,
yeah, He knew it when he took the job, Scott.
Absolutely.
Um, talking about Pat Kelsey, I remember he was. I saw an interview with him one time, and he was talking. Now I could be mistaken here, but he said something about his dad owned a car dealership in Lawrenceburg. But I think it was Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Is he? Has he got Hoosier roots in there, or is that Lawrenceburg, Kentucky?
That's actually Indiana.
Okay.
As far as
Well,
I know, I think
yeah.
it's Indiana.
Hey guys, is Pat Kelsey a Hoosier in sheep's clothing or what? What are we learning here? Maybe who knows? Scott was touching base on the players he got, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that, Russ. Um, what's your opinion on this year's roster at Louisville? What are some of the things that you think their strengths are, and what can take them to that next level? And do you see any holes in this roster that you're concerned with?
Well, like Scott said, he did address our biggest needs. Last year we were really soft in the middle. We didn't have any rim protectors. Our bigs played on the perimeter too much. He went out, got Flory. Went out and got the big freshman Oz. So we should be good in the middle now. Shelstead, all he has to do is show up and be a better defensive point guard than we had last year. Uh, you know, it's just the way it is. Our defense was very lacking last year, except for a few players. A few players stepped up a little bit, but we didn't have that toughness that we're used to and accustomed to. But he changed that. I think Carter Knox is going to step up defensively. He's very versatile. So is Montgomery. They're both very versatile defenders, and that they'll help us where we needed last year. We couldn't defend the perimeter at all, especially when you have bigs that let everybody just drive to the goal and score. But he addressed all those needs, and we'll see where it goes from now.
Any question marks, Russ, on this team?
We don't have the shooters we did last year. On paper, we had excellent shooters. This year, we have decent shooters, not great shooters, not elite shooters.
Scott, do you agree with Rusty on this?
I agree with him 100%. I think that the biggest concern I have is the shooting. And now because we don't have the shooting, are you going to play the same style as you did last year? If you do, I think that's a concern.
Yeah.
If you don't, I think he wants to maybe mimic Arizona's style of play last year.
Okay.
Play downhill, play fast, defensively, be a monster. And honestly, with him bringing in the assistants from Clemson and Florida, I feel like we're going to be a top 15 defense in the country. We should be.
Wow. Okay.
So if that's the case, I'm not worried about the offense. I think Pat Kelsey will get the offense figured out no matter what. So if the defense is a top 15 team, like I hope it should be, I think Louisville might be a problem.
Okay. Well, I think when I look at that Louisville roster, it's bizarre. It's like you guys almost mirror us a little bit in what we went out and got this year. We had a problem in the middle last year. We went out and addressed it with Aiden Sherrill and the big Turkish tower. And last year we were a better shooting team than what we may be this year. So that it's kind of bizarre that both of you said that. And here Indiana's looking at the same weaknesses and the same holes, if you will. I worry about Louisville as far as their roster. The thing that worries me is Badunga is his one-dimensional. He's a shot blocker and a rebounder, but can you feed him down in the post and turn him loose? Can he go to work? His athleticism is not questioned ever, and he's a shot blocking and a rebounding fool. But like I said, can you throw it down him into the post and watch him work?
I'm not for sure about that. They say he's improving, but I'm not 100% for sure because he doesn't play with his back to the basket a whole lot. He's a rebounder, putback guy,
right.
A lob guy. So we'll see. We'll see where it comes. He's had a year to work with our coaching staff. Let's just see what he's got. And they say he's improved.
Scott, is there anything about Indiana's roster that sticks out to you as far as things that are like, man, they look impressive here, but not so impressive in this regards?
I think Darren DeVries, like you touched on earlier, he did the same. He went out and he addressed the needs that he needed. He got one of the best point guards in the country. You know what I mean? Mark Burton. It was huge. Sam Alexis coming back. So, I think Indiana's on the right track. I think Darren DeVries on the right track.
Yeah. So you think we got an upgrade as far as that? Russ, what do you think about Indiana's roster this year?
I think you said it earlier. It's like looking in a mirror. We went out, got both two good big guys. Our point guards are coming off injuries because they're both very, very talented. I told you before, I love Harris from Duke. I think that he got stuck behind some talented players and didn't get an opportunity to shine. I think that he's got the whole skill set.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a player for you guys.
My co-host, Mr. Mercer, who you both know, he is a big Harris fan, and I am not sold on Harris yet. He hasn't got the run at Duke yet because he was behind Cooper Flagg and some of these other studs. I get that, and he's got the shot mechanics. He's got a quick release. I'm just a kind of a Signetti. When we talk a little bit about football, Signetti says he always goes for productivity over potential, and this is just the opposite. This guy's got potential, but we haven't seen it put on the hardwood yet, so that's got me a little concerned about Indiana. But hopefully I'm wrong, and if not, we'll see.
Hey, it's hard to get a run when you got the number one player in the country in front of you.
Yes, that's true, Russ. Absolutely. Let's talk a hypothetical here. Now, I don't think Indiana plays Louisville this year. I think they actually I think they're in a tournament down the road together. Am I not mistaken there? I haven't looked at that, but I think they're in the same tournament. So if they end up matching up, we're going to look at a hypothetical game. Scott, Louisville plays Indiana this year on a neutral court. Who takes that win? Who gets that W? If you want to know my opinion, I think Pat Kelsey gets the W. I'm sorry, Hoosier Nation, but I think Pat Kelsey gets the win because he's got that continuity. He's got he's beat us the last 2 times he's played us, and don't get me wrong, Indiana's took a huge step up as far as talent level this goes, and so. But I think with that continuity, that's going to make a difference for them. What do you see happening, Scott? And who do you think takes over this game? Which player?
I think whoever wins the turnover battle, whoever rebounds the ball, they win. Because like you said, they pretty much mirror each other.
Yeah.
Whichever team the shots are falling, they win. However, I'm going with my Cardinals.
Sure.
And a hard-fought victory, 7-9 points.
Okay, so you're saying keep it under 10.
Yeah.
Thank God Woody's not here to be a 40-point game again. Russ, what do you look at that game?
Well, hate to say it, but I agree with Scott. Of course, I think our talent is a little bit better than Indiana's this year. I think Flory is an elite player. I think that he is going to take his game to another level this year. I think it's going to be a close game because I do like y'all's bigs. I like your bigs a lot.
Sure.
So I think your bigs will match up with ours. But I think Shellstead is going to – I think he's a difference maker.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was very good at Oregon. I know he had some injuries, but I just think that he is a definitely difference maker for us. And I would say the game might even be a little closer than Scott thinks. But
okay,
I'm going to go Louisville.
Okay. Do you think this is going to be a defensive juggernaut, or is this going to be a shootout, Russ?
I think it's going to be high 70s, maybe even the 80s.
Okay.
Kelsey gets up and gets that floor running, and I don't think he's going to change much. I think he's still going to push the ball and get up the floor.
That's the way DeVries likes to play as well, Scott.
Yeah,
you agree?
DeVries definitely likes to play it well.
Is it going to be a shootout, Scott?
No. I think they'll get up and down the floor, but I don't think it'll be a shootout. I think it would probably be in the 70s if I had to guess. Defensive game. Whoever wins the defensive battle wins the game.
Sure. I think both teams took a step back in shooting this year. I really believe that. Now, can those teams both shoot the ball? I think they can. They're very capable. Darren Harris is quite capable of shooting it, as well as our kid from Villanova.
Bryce Lindsey.
Bryce Lindsey, thank you. And, Russ knows every team. I love that about Russ. And Bryce Lindsey can flat out shoot it. So, and our freshmen look absolutely fantastic. I am so impressed with our freshmen. Von Carvala, Prince Alexander Moody, and Trevor Manhurst. These guys can play ball, guys. I don't know if you've seen them yet. These freshmen can ball out. And I think DeVries goes with a lot of 9, 10-man rosters this year just because these freshmen are going to demand to be played. I mean, we had one game overseas where Von Carvala hit like 7 or 8 3-pointers. That's a freshman. You know what? Just come in. And I think he shot like 58% from 3-point range while he was over. So these freshmen, they're ready to go. I don't know as far as your freshmen go, as far as what they look like. But I see the game being real close. I say I'm with Russ. I think it's like a 78-74 game. And I think the MVP of the game, gosh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with the Hoosier. I'm going to go with Aiden Sherrill. I'm going to say he balls out. And he has the ability to pick and pop. He's got a 3-point. The only thing that I don't like about him, he falls in love with that 3. And you're 6'9". Sometimes you got to get into that basket. 6'10" or whatever he is. You got to get into that basket too. But I think Aiden Sherrill's got that capability to going off this year. Let's talk a little bit while I got you guys on here, let's mix it up. Let's talk a little pigskin for a minute. Your boy Jeff Brohm. Now, I've talked to Louisville fans, many Louisville fans. I got tons of Louisville fans that are my friends, and they all say the same thing. I'm sorry, they're split. Some people think that Jeff Brohm hung the moon and he cannot do anything wrong. And then the other side of fan base says, you know what? He's not where we want him to be, but he's safe because he's a Louisville guy, and I get that. Where do you fall on that spectrum, Russ?
Well, I do love Jeff Brohm.
Yeah.
I've always told you, though, I think that the guy comes back to his alma mater. That's a lot of pressure. And throughout the time, not a whole lot of guys have succeeded. They haven't taken it to the next level at their alma maters. And then, he is a hometown boy, going to Trinity, living here still and all that. And, but you just got to have faith in him. I think that he's kind of like Kelsey. We went from our worst possible moments when we got Kelsey to getting Brohm, and I got to have faith in him. I think that he can lead us. I think that he's a good recruiter. I think that he loves our team, and he has the best interest in our team, and I think he's the right person for the job.
What about you, Sky? What's your feelings on Mr. Brohm?
I mean, love Jeff Brohm, of course. Jeff Brohm gets a little more grace being a Louisville guy, hometown kid, played here, coming back to his alma mater. But the worst thing that happened to Jeff Brohm, along with many other schools who aren't traditionally powerhouse programs, is Kurt Signetti. Yeah. That's the worst.
True.
Because people now can look at that example, Indiana, the Hoosiers, and say, well, if they did it, we can do it. Yeah. So that's the worst thing that happened to him. But I feel like Jeff Brohm is just a smidge away from getting to that next level. Yeah. You know what I mean? If we take care of a couple turnovers, don't slip up on the games that we should win, that he always slips up on and loses, we're right there in the hunt. So you don't get rid of Jeff Brohm. If he wins 8-9 games, you don't get rid of him. And just hopefully every few years, he has that spark when we get to the playoffs, we're going to run.
With the expansion of the playoffs, and I think your ACC schedule being a little bit easier than the Big Ten or the SEC, that gets you guys an opportunity more so to get in the playoffs every couple of years. The way I look at Jeff Brohm, in my opinion, Jeff Brohm is one of these guys that's going to get you 8 wins a year minimum. Mm-hmm. Now he's going to have a year where he gets you 4 wins, and they're like, man, this guy's got to go. And there's going to be a year where he pops in and busts a 12-1 out and makes the quarterfinals of the college football playoffs. That's the way I look at Brohm. He's a steady hand. I don't know if he wins the championship, but I think he competes for a championship possibly in the next 5 years. I do believe that. But then again, too, he's sporadic. He, like you said, he can have those screw up games where he gets beat by Boston College, takes a loss to Miami, and maybe gets upset by Syracuse, and you're turning around looking at each other like, what's this guy doing? This is Louisville, and you guys have higher expectation than we did at Indiana over the years. Well, we're going to wrap this up. You guys have any closing remarks? And I appreciate you both being here. Any closing remarks, Russ?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm always down to talk about Louisville, down to talk about Indiana too. Talking sports is one of my favorite things to do, and I appreciate you having me.
I appreciate it, Russ. Thanks for your time, Russ. What about you? Got any closing words?
Same thing. Appreciate you having me. Look forward to maybe doing it in the future. And go Cards.
I want to have you both on when they do if we play this year for a preview game as well as the wrap-up game. Well, we're going to leave you here today, Hoosier Nation. We're going to leave you with just saying, keep the passion, keep the faith, but always keep it between the stripes. Until next time, Hoosier fans, take care of each other.